It is amazing how attitudes seem to change when it comes to the almighty dollar. It is amazing how pretend hatred and fake outrage magically seem to disappear when it comes to making money. I mean, why would Angel Reese want Caitlin Clark in this new league? If Caitlin Clark is there, the spotlight of Angel Reese, it becomes a shadow.
Angel Reese goes crazy after Caitlin Clark gets that monstrous deal with Unrivaled. The new league is making its way into women's basketball, and Unrivaled might as well have written the book on cluelessness. They began by recruiting every player under the sun, except for the one star who could truly put them on the map.
Unfortunately, it's a star that most people don't like, Angel Reese.
Yeah, they lined up Reese, Aja Wilson, and a whole squad of almost there players, hoping that this combination would miraculously work. What did they smoke? Finally, someone over there had the intelligence to recognize, oh right, Caitlin Clark is the only shot they've got at even sniffing success.
Realizing we might need Caitlin.
So they've thrown sacks of cash at her, leaving Reese to watch the genuine superstar walk away with the reward. She is nearly boiling over because Unrivaled has recognized that without Clark, they are nothing more than a frantic, cash-burning carnival.
They're offering Caitlin Clark $1 million for 2 months of her services. $1 million to carry a new basketball league from January to March.
This so-called league has the hubris to believe it can transform women's basketball, but without Caitlin Clark, they're simply forgettable. A 3-on-3 league is desperately looking for a spark to get it going. However, when your whole squad consists of who's that guys, there is little possibility of setting the sports world on fire.
Unrivaled is going to feature the 30 best pretend basketball players, with the vast majority of them being anonymous. Now, they do have one star committed to playing in the league. Unfortunately, it's a star that most people don't like, Angel Reese.
Let's talk about TNT's massive commitment here, a 6-year, $100 million deal, and how they plan to use all of that money to increase viewership. Are they even aware of what they're signing up for? Because without a celebrity like Clark, those TV ratings will be as low as the temperature in Antarctica. Who's going to watch a lineup that reads like a phone directory of nobodies? TNT has simply written a check for a league with no basis, believing Clark would be the miracle remedy. Clark is a formidable opponent, and Unrivaled is well aware of this. She is a ticket machine. Put her name on the roster, and ticket queues would stretch around the block. She's out here packed stadiums like it's the playoffs every time she takes the floor. Venues have to add seats to accommodate the crowds she attracts. But does Unrivaled have the same kind of draw without her? Please, their delay is not only incomprehensible, but also offensive. Clark is the most marketable athlete in women's basketball, and Unrivaled acted as if they could afford to keep her waiting 3 months. They handed out 26 additional names, hoping to get traction without the game's greatest star. It's like attempting to release a film without a lead actor. But now, they're in full panic mode, attempting to cover up months of neglect with a Hail Mary call that screams, "Please save us, Caitlin!" Their late-game desperation demonstrates how badly they've handled the alleged league since its inception. And then there's the public relations team. If there was an award for the most self-destructive social media approach in sports history, Unrivaled would easily win. Instead of bringing Clark in, they actively engaged in disparaging remarks against her.
And in the same vein, they were also liking negative comments about Caitlin Clark from the official Unrivaled basketball Instagram account, like during the season. So all of these things were just not a good look.
Their official channels went out of their way to defend posts that criticized the exact player they are now pushing to join. It's as if they couldn't decide whether to include or exclude her. But Unrivaled criticism of the superstar you require isn't exactly a winning tactic. The only thing they proved was that they are absolutely out of touch with what their followers desire. Now, if you want to see how to properly woo a talent like Clark, turn to Ice Cube and his Big 3 League. Ice Cube understood her worth from the start. No hesitancy, no games, just a large, obvious offer. He did not waste time experimenting with poor solutions, and he surely did not engage in petty social media games. He put his money where his mouth is, providing Clark more money than he does to former NBA players, demonstrating to Unrivaled how it should be done. But Unrivaled, they're too busy tripping over their own lousy choices to see how far behind they've slipped. Compared to the Big Three's no-nonsense approach, Unrivaled's frenzied scramble appears amateurish. Fast forward to now, and Unrivaled is tossing money about like confetti at a parade. They're proposing Clark a Lionel Messi-style deal, a cool $1 million for just 2 months, with a potential ownership share.
Unrivaled League needs Caitlin Clark, and they are preparing to offer her a massive deal. But is it all too little too late?
This last-minute cash grab is less about recognizing Clark's skill and more about covering up their monumental miscalculation. It's as if they awoke and realized they're doomed without her, so they're throwing everything at her feet, hoping she'll take the bait. But if they genuinely cherished her, they would have been to her door months ago, not after every other scheme had failed.
Caitlin Clark doesn't need any money. She has plenty of endorsement deals. I think she is totally fine. And I think for her body and for her mental health, it might not be the best thing for her, because I can only imagine what it was like being in her shoes throughout this entire WNBA season. Not only the kind of physicality and double teams and face guards and all of those things that she was receiving on the court, but also all of the noise, all of the drama, all of the media circus surrounding her off.
But even with a lot of money on the table, Clark has every reason to stay away. Unrivaled is a league with no strong basis, no track record, and simply no idea. Signing with them risks lowering her profile to their level, a fragile company with no credibility. She has a reputation to preserve, and becoming involved in this train catastrophe isn't worth the risk. Why associate her brand with a league that might fail before the season is over? If anything, the true question here is not whether Clark should take the offer, but whether Unrivaled merits her at all.
So do I think Caitlin Clark should join Unrivaled? I'm not so sure. I think that the money needs to be high. It needs to be in the millions. It needs to be at least what Cube offered her for the Big Three at minimum.
Now, let us take a moment to admire Angel Reese's hilarious reaction to Caitlin Clark's gleaming $1 million Unrivaled agreement. Talk about a breakdown. Here's Reese, who used to behave as if Clark was just another face in the crowd, constantly discussing her financial grievances with her WNBA paycheck of $75,000 each season. But now, jealousy literally radiates from her. Clark has won $1 million, and Reese is unable to contain her excitement. It's like witnessing the most obvious exhibition of jealousy in basketball history.
I thought WNBA players didn't need Caitlin Clark.
For months, Reese minimized Clark's effect, possibly believing she'd be okay without her. But now that Clark has that large, unrivaled check, Reese's narrative has taken a full 180. What about the "we don't need Clark" narrative? Obliterated. She's watching Clark be enticed with amenities and a salary that would make any WNBA player double take. Reese, who used to roll her eyes at the mention of Clark, is now obliged to admit that Clark's market influence is on a completely new level.
So Angel Reese is playing in this league. Dejanay Carrington is playing in this league. Obviously, I feel like that's the biggest name where there is some sort of tension. Whether there's tension between Caitlin and Dejanay, we don't know, but there is still that narrative.
Then there's the big wage disparity with guys like Aja Wilson, who is also likely experiencing the pain of being left behind. Sure, Wilson could officially support Unrivaled's decision to sign Clark, but let's be honest, she can't be happy watching Clark outperform her in endorsement agreements. Wilson and Reese are both big names in the WNBA, but it doesn't change the fact that they don't make as much money as Clark. Despite her high-profile antics and outspoken media presence, Reese can't compete with Clark's deal-making abilities. Nike, State Farm, you name it. They're throwing money at Clark, leaving Reese to watch from the sidelines. These transactions are more than just about money. They're a powerful reminder of Clark's clout, which Reese can only aspire for. Seeing Clark's face plastered throughout marketing campaigns must be awful, especially when your own financial troubles are frequently highlighted. Watching the spotlight shine on Clark just highlights the disparity, and Reese's irritation is evident in her public reaction.
This is your opportunity to see if you can survive without her. This is your opportunity to see if Angel Reese is enough of a draw to carry a new league. I think the answer's no.
If Clark goes to Unrivaled, the WNBA will have a serious problem. Imagine top players looking at Clark's paycheck and deciding it's time to hop ship, bored of earning pennies while she's making millions. The WNBA, which cannot afford a talent drain, may see its top talents go if Unrivaled begins paying up. This is more than simply a boost for Unrivaled. It's a warning sign that the WNBA can't stay up, and it poses a direct challenge to their already precarious financial situation.
What Ice Cube offered Caitlyn before the Big Three season began. I commend Ice Cube because you have to think about the type of egos that play in the Big.
But don't forget that Clark's game is 5-on-5. She's an expert at regular basketball, not some pickup style 3-on-3 type. Throwing her into Unrivaled's small experiment makes you question if it will even succeed. Critics have already questioned whether 3-on-3 can maintain interest, implying that Unrivaled is banking the entire league on Clark's shoulders. Unrivaled best hope she can carry them, because without her, they're on the fast course to irrelevance. Then there's her earnings potential. Caitlyn has a $28 million Nike endorsement and partnerships with businesses such as State Farm. She's the athlete that companies battle over. Her marketability is almost unheard of in women's sports.
Here's the potential problem. Caitlin Clark already has money. She signed a $28 million deal with Nike. She's got endorsement deals from State Farm and a handful of other companies. Caitlin Clark doesn't necessarily need the money.
And Unrivaled is anxious to capitalize on that. They envisage a rise in their profile and the opportunity to participate in the major leagues. But here's the harsh reality. Without her, they're simply another hollow, hopeful idea in a cluttered sports landscape. They're hoping Clark's golden touch would pique people's interest, as if her celebrity could raise their poor assortment. Think about it. Unrivaled has invested all of their hope and money on enticing Caitlyn to join them. They have no backup, no alternative, and no plan B. If Clark doesn't take the bait, they're doomed. Her star power, fan base, and commercial worth are all qualities Unrivaled lacks and cannot acquire, even if they try. They need her so much that it's humiliating. What do you think? Will she join the league? Will they offer her enough to get her in? And will that propel the league to the forefront immediately? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.